Hello YouTube. In this video I'm going to be addressing a bit of a revelation that I had a couple of years ago. Actually more than a couple of years ago. I would say about maybe 10 years ago. Those of you who know me know that at one point I was actually a vegetarian. I guess I got it into my mind that I would be more healthy or better off if I stopped eating meat. And it was basically because there were certain people in my life at the time who gave up eating meat. People that I was very close to. And I figured, hey, if it's good for them, it'd be good for myself too. And I'm probably missing out on something. And especially since I eat so much doggone junk food, just cutting that out of my diet would be a good thing. So I went and I became a vegetarian. I didn't become a vegan, so I mean there's certain things I would eat, but as far as meat, I just stopped eating meat, and it lasted for about almost a year, and I just didn't eat any meat. Then one day I came across this guitar player here in Michigan, a rather famous guitar player here in Michigan. Those of you who live here in Michigan know who I'm referring to. And that person's name is Ted Nugent. I love Ted. But one thing I will say, I don't agree with his politics. I am not a Republican by any stretch of the imagination. And that's no offense to you guys who are watching my video who are Republican, to each his own. But I do share some of his spiritual beliefs. But anyway, he used to have a radio program here in Michigan. Actually, I believe he owned part of this radio station called The Bear here in Michigan. And I used to listen to it every morning, and believe it or not, the Bear would come on at 6 a.m. in the morning. And at that time, I was going to school at Wayne State, and had some early classes, so I would be up and about, around 6 a.m. in the morning. Anyway, I was listening to this show one day. I've always been a fan of Ted Nugent and his guitar playing and whatnot. And I was listening to his show one day, and he had this lady on from PETA. And they were debating on the fact that, you shouldn't eat meat and that you shouldn't hunt and this and that and other. And Ted Nugent just went off on this lady. I could not believe it. But those of you who know Ted Nugent know that here in Michigan we refer to him as the Motor City Madman, which he is, and I love him to death. But in this instance, I would actually say that Ted Nugent was right on the money. And this lady was basically saying that you shouldn't eat meat, and we can survive without eating meat and this and that and other. And Ted Nugent just asked her, do you live in a house? Do you know how many critters were killed for you to live in that house? Do you know how many, as far as the animals that lived in your area, do you know how many of them lost their homes for you to live in that house? And you don't believe in, conservationism? Do you know how many deer would be around here in Michigan if we didn't go hunting once a year? And then he basically, it was so funny because he asked this lady, well, what kind of panties do you wear? Do you know that if you wear cotton, do you know where that comes from? Have you ever been out in the wild? Do you know how many animals had to die just for you to, wear that? And it just went off on this lady on so many levels. So, I was just flabbergasted. And I was like, some people might have a problem with Ted Nugent, but I don't. At least on the hunting issue. So, next morning, I called Ted Nugent up on the telephone. And this is what I did. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. Most people are asleep around about 6 o'clock in the morning, or they're just waking up, and the last thing they want to do is, call a radio show. So I called the program, and I got through just like that, because it was like something like 6 in the morning. And I told Ted Nugent and the people at the station that I was a recovering vegetarian. And he had a pretty good laugh about that, you know. Um, I told him that, you know, I listened to his program, and he made more sense than that lady did, you know, the Peter lady. Now, you know, I mean, each to each his own. Everyone believes, you know, what they believe, and everyone has a truth that fits them. But for me, my truth is eating meat. I think it's something natural that we do. I don't think it's anything unnatural. Can we live without eating meat? Yes. But I am a pagan and I like to live, you know, close to the land. I want to be a part of nature. I don't want to be so cut off from nature that it no longer has a positive, you know, effect on me. So I went and I told him this, and you know, we had a good laugh, and you know, and that was about it. So that was sort of like my exposure to Ted Nugent in real life. And I always said that when I get older, I am going to buy me a bow and arrow and go bow hunting, just like the Nuge does. Now, one thing I will say is that those of you who live in Michigan know that Ted Nugent doesn't have anything to do with witchcraft or paganism, anything along those nature, you know, along that line. Um, he's basically, as far as I'm concerned, a Christian. At least that's what he comes across as. So those of you who are watching this video, you know, don't get the wrong impression thinking that, you know, Ted Nugent is one of us, because he's not. Actually, a couple of pagans did call his show while he was on the radio, and you know, ask him, you know, ask him about paganism and whatnot, you know, saying that, you know, your beliefs are really in line with ours, but you know, he totally, you know, discredited them, saying that, you know, I am not a pagan and I don't subscribe this anyway to witchcraft or spells or anything like that. And you don't, you know, it's just a way of life, you know, a way of getting in touch with what he calls the spirit of the wild. Now, every year, what my dad used to do is he would disappear around hunting season. And I was too young to really understand what was happening. But for like 2 weeks, my dad was just, he would not be around. He would be out hunting with his hunting buddies, and you know, hunting deer and whatnot. And I remember as a kid, he would bring that stuff home, and it would taste so doggone good. You know, that venison, man. That stuff, oh my god, that stuff just awesome. So I always said that, you know, when I get older and whatnot, I don't want to do it for gun. I mean, I don't have a problem with hunting with a gun, but I think a bow and arrow is more personal, and it gets you more in touch with nature. Because a lot of times you would sit up in a tree waiting for a deer to come around, and they don't come around. But the fact that you're up there in that tree just waiting for something, you know, you're being a real predator in nature, and you're waiting for your prey to come. There's something spiritual in that, because you're experiencing the air, you're experiencing the woods, you're experiencing all of this wildlife here that we have in Michigan. And to me, that's what's, you know, that's what being a pagan is. Really, truly getting out there and experiencing nature, not just, you know, running around naked, you know, in a circle chanting and this and that and other. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but really truly getting out there in nature and being a part of nature and being a predator, that to me is what being a pagan is. The other stuff is good too, but that really brings it home. Okay guys, that's why I eat meat, and meat is delicious. So until next time, love is the law, and peace.